Discover the shocking truth of happiness, why simplicity sharing will change your life forever. In a world constantly buzzing with dissatisfaction, a hidden treasure lies waiting, a simple secret that could flip your entire understanding of joy upside down. It's not cloaked in mystery, it's woven into our everyday lives yet overlooked. Countless studies reveal that happiness stems not from wealth or fame but from the smallest gestures, the ones we often take for granted. People claim to find pure bliss in just a helping hand offered to a stranger, or a warm smile shared between friends. Yet, many are blind to this undeniable truth, lost in the clutter of complexity. On a chilly Friday night, amidst the cold winds outside, Sarah walked home after a long day of work. She stumbled upon an unexpected sight, a glowing, makeshift table surrounded by flickering candles. It beckoned to her an extraordinary invitation, a community gathering celebrating kindness. It felt surreal, as if she stumbled into a scene straight out of a fairy tale. Unfamiliar faces shared homemade treats, laughter intertwining with a symphony of clinking glasses. But there was something more. Each smile concealed a story, a struggle, and the air felt thick with unshared burdens and untold joys. Her heart raced as she approached, every step crunching on leftover frost from the day before. A man, weathered but warm, caught her eye. "Join us. Tonight is about giving. Share what you can, stories, seeds for the garden, even smiles," he called out, his voice rich as the homemade bread resting on the table. The invitation sparked something deep inside her, a whisper of hope in a chilling night. Suddenly, a woman stepped into the light, her hands trembling. "Will anyone hear my story?" she cried, shattering the joy like glass. The crowd fell silent, all eyes now focused on her as if defying the darkness that surrounded them. Sarah felt her throat tighten, the lump heavy. What truth was this woman about to share? What could come of it in a world that often turned its back on the fragile? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As silence thickened the air, a chilling wave of anticipation washed over the crowd. What happened next felt like an electric jolt, tightening everyone's chest. The woman shared her pain, the loss of her home, her family. With every word, vulnerability danced around them, a palpable force that gripped their hearts. Every listener felt her sorrow, each of them connecting in unexpected ways. Yet, as her story unfolded, unseen forces turned the night into something otherworldly. Was it a superstitious chill, or was this evening meant for something greater? What were they missing in their daily lives that made this gathering resonate on such a profound level? As Sarah looked around, something stirred within. Was it community she lacked, or had she been searching for this kind of connection her whole life? And as the woman's voice grew stronger, promising breakthrough through shared suffering, a soft rustle echoed from the shadows behind a nearby tree. Was it just the wind, or was someone listening with intent? An inescapable pull tugged at Sarah, drawing her curiosity to what lay beyond the gathering. Would the mysteries of the night reveal their truths, or were some secrets better left buried? The moment hung in the air, heavy and electric. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as her eyes darted toward the shadows. The flickering candlelight was like a strobe, illuminating a fleeting figure partially hidden behind the tree. Was it just her imagination? She forced herself to focus on the woman speaking, her pain laid bare for all to witness. Yet the curiosity nagged at her. Life is just a collection of stories, moments we choose to share or bury, the woman continued, her voice trembling but firm. I lost everything, but I found strength among strangers, among people who cared enough to listen. Each syllable enveloped the crowd like a whisper of hope, yet Sarah felt a contrasting urge, an impulse to peel back the layers of the night. As the evening wore on, the atmosphere morphed from one of pity to resilience. Faces hardened with determination, eyes glimmered with understanding. Flourishing empathy threaded through the crowd, binding them tighter with each shared revelation. Sarah was lifted by the intensity of it all, but the rustling noise in the dark loomed at the edge of her thoughts, tugging her focus away. "Tell us more." Someone called out, echoing the sentiment. Strengthening courage surrounded them. Yet, it only fueled Sarah's restlessness. Deeper truths lay encased in the shadows, and she had to discover what or who was lurking there, pulling her attention like a moth to a flame. Without fully understanding why, she stepped back, retreating from the warmth of the crowd. It felt natural, almost instinctual as she moved closer to the tree. With each step, the whispers of voices faded, fading into the fabric of the world behind her, replaced by an ominous hush. There it was again, a sound, a barely there rustle as something shuffled in the darkness. Fear twisted in her stomach, but an undeniable compulsion drew her nearer. Balanced on the cusp of fear and curiosity, she hesitated. The night's lesson about sharing surged within her. Shouldn't she share in this moment too? But what did this encounter even entail? The fire within swelled, pulling her into the uncertain unknown. Then, with a deep breath, she stepped away from the familiar warmth and embraced the dark. "Hello," she called softly. The word trembled on her tongue as it slipped into the night, blending with the shadows. "Is anyone there?" The figure broke into view, a startled gasp escaping. A man, tall and wiry, stepped from behind the tree and into the soft flicker of candlelight. His clothes were tattered, an air of vulnerability hung around him. But rather than fear, it was recognition that clouded her vision. He was a stranger, yet in that moment, she felt an inexplicable connection. "What do you want?" she whispered, a chill racing down her spine. His eyes darted around the crowd, then landed on her, fierce yet pleading. "I need your help. It's about the woman. She is in danger." Instantly, the weight of the night shifted, the festive atmosphere shattered by urgency. Sarah's heart raced. What had she stumbled into? The warmth of community felt distant now, eclipsed by this new reality replete with danger and duty. "Danger?" she echoed, feeling the grounding force of concern slip away. Would she help him unravel this mystery, or would she retreat to the safety of the crowd? As she stood there, trapped between instincts and choices, fear mingled with a thrill of purpose. The promise of revelation clung thick in the air, but the implications were heavy. What now? The mystery swirled like fog around them, and Sarah had a choice to make, one that would alter not just her night but perhaps the course of many lives. Would she answer the call of the unknown? The night deepened, and a storm brewed, both outside and within her. The man's urgency pried at the edges of Sarah's understanding, pushing her to take a step closer. "What do you mean she's in danger?" Her voice came out steadier than she felt, each word tugging her deeper into this unfolding nightmare. He hesitated, stealing glances over his shoulder as if the shadows themselves could listen. "There are people here who don't want her story to be told. They're following her, waiting for the right moment to silence her." His eyes were wide and hollow, the fear palpable enough to grab Sarah and shake her into action. Silence enveloped them, the revelry of the gathering dimming to a distant hum. Sarah could hardly breathe. The warmth of the crowd, the narrative of shared stories, they felt fraudulent now, like an elaborate facade hiding something much darker. The flickering candlelight cast long shadows that danced with malevolence, almost mocking her innocence. "Why do you care?" she blurted, half expecting him to back away, to vanish into the shadows he seemed to have risen from. But he didn't. Instead, he took a step forward, his lean frame taut with an unsettling mixture of desperation and resolve. "Because it's my fault her life is at risk," he confessed, voice barely above a whisper. "I should have protected her. I thought I was, but I was too late, too weak." A chill shivered through her, his pain seeped into her like a slow poison. "What do you need me to do?" He stared right into her, and for the first time, his guarded expression cracked, revealing a worried boy trapped in an adult's life. "I need you to help me warn her. I can't do this alone. If they find out I'm here." His voice trailed off, but the threat hung heavily in the air between them, doubt gnawed at Sarah. She thought of the woman speaking at the gathering, of the strength she found in sharing her pain. Could their stories intertwine? What makes you think I can help? I'm just a stranger. Sometimes the smallest voices carry the loudest truths, he replied, earnestness coloring his every word. And you're the only one who saw me. You have to trust me. Could she trust this man? Her instincts screamed for caution, but his eyes held a promise, one of purpose and urgency that lit something deep within her. The choice before her was not merely about stepping into the darkness, it was a plunge into the depths of responsibility. She glanced back toward the crowd, where laughter mixed with the crackling of the fire. But the light seemed dimmer now. What do we do? She asked, each word laced with determination. Follow me, he instructed, taking her hand. It felt electric, as if an unseen bond tied them, two willing souls ready to venture into danger together. Together, they slipped away from the light and into the shadow tree-line, the sounds of the gathering fading until all she could hear was the pounding of her heart and the rustle of leaves underfoot. Just ahead lay the line of trees, where the oppressive darkness began, stretching out like arms ready to embrace them, ready to swallow them whole. Stop! The command sliced through the night like a knife. They froze, the tension palpable, standing in that moment of fear and adrenaline. Another form emerged from the shadows, moving closer. Someone else had been waiting. What do you think you're doing? The newcomer questioned, eyes glinting with menace in the dim light. Sarah's breath hitched. She had stepped too far into an unknown game, and now the stakes were real. The man next to her tightened his grip. Stay behind me, he whispered, but she didn't think she could. Her pulse pounded in her ears as the danger closed in. What now? The night stretched out before them, dark and overflowing with secrets. How had everything escalated so quickly? Sarah's chest tightened, the chains of stigma and danger clanked loudly in her mind. And as the figure advanced, shadows swirled, revealing a truth she was not prepared for, leaving Sarah teetering on the brink of a discovery that could change everything. What power lay waiting in those shadows? The moment had come. What would she uncover when the storm broke? A hardness settled in the newcomer's gaze, a predator sizing up its prey. Sarah felt ice prickling along her spine, and she blinked away, the fight-or-flight impulse clawing at her throat. Who are you? The words slipped out of her, a whisper lost in the twilight. Just a friend, the figure replied, a sneer curling those lips, making sure you're not in over your head. There was an unsettling calm in his demeanor. His movements were precise, like a coiled spring ready to snap. Leave her out of this, the man beside Sarah said, his voice low but steady. She could feel the heat radiating from him, his anxiety almost electric. It set her pulse racing. No can do, the stranger shot back, stepping closer. This is way bigger than she understands, and you, he pointed at Sarah, are in the wrong place at the wrong time. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her feet felt rooted to the ground. The darkness of the woods felt far more comforting than the idea of turning her back now. She had stepped onto a stage of hidden truths, and now it desperately needed her attention. What do you know about her? The man beside her demanded, stepping protectively in front of Sarah. His frame seemed small against the looming threat, but determination filled the air like a thick fog. I know everything, the stranger said, spitting the words like venom. And I know she's better off without knowing her precious truth. He took another step forward, his confidence washing over the tension like an incoming tide. Sarah's heart drummed in her ears, drowning out the whispers of the forest. She felt a burning need to understand, to turn the gears of fate in her favor. I want to know. She shouted, the words tumbling from her lips with a force she didn't know she possessed. The stranger chuckled darkly, his gaze flickering between them as if savoring the chaos. Brave girl, aren't you? But some stories are best left buried. What you'll find will change everything, and trust me, you might not like it. Behind the veil of dark trees, Sarah's mind raced. What was her newfound companion hiding? What secrets could lie between the lines of fear and desperation? If you're going to threaten her, then you'll have to go through me, the man said, voice gaining strength. She deserves to know the truth, even if it hurts. Silence enveloped them, the air thick with tension. The standoff felt like an electric charge, ready to ignite. Sarah's heart raced as she realized this was bigger than her. This was a battle of wills. You don't even know who you're dealing with, the stranger hissed, eyes narrowing ominously. Walk away, or you'll both regret it. No. Sarah cried out, the strength of determination pushing her forward. I refuse to be silenced. I will not run away. I deserve to know whatever darkness is out here. The stranger's features flickered with surprise before returning to that twisted smirk. Very well, but don't say I didn't warn you. He turned abruptly, moving back into the shadows, a wraith disappearing into the night. Wait! Sarah shouted, but the air was empty where he had stood. What just happened? She breathed, confusion spilling over. The weight of questions hung heavy between them, begging to break through. The man next to her turned, eyes dark with resolve. You just made a choice, Sarah. Now we must prepare for the consequences. The truth had taken a step closer, shrouded in layers of mystery, but it also felt like a thunderstorm gathering on the horizon. What consequences? Panic laced her voice, but beneath the fear was a spark of determination. She glanced toward the dark, twisting paths of the forest, each one a potential doorway into secrets she hadn't dared imagine. Suddenly, a rustle sounded nearby, sharp and ominous, branches snapping underfoot as something emerged from the shadows. A howl pierced the silence, chilling her spine. The creature stood at the edge of the tree line, eyes glowing with menace, hunger searching for its next victim. We need to run. The man shouted, urgency propelling them forward, but the howling echoed again, drowning their footsteps in the night. What was hunting them? In this darkness, they'd have to find not just the truth, but a way to survive. And as they fled deeper into the woods, every shadow offered more than mystery, it promised revelation and terror. What awaited them in the heart of that wild unknown? Heart pounding, Sarah grabbed the man's hand as they took off in a desperate sprint. The sound of the creature's howl echoed in her ears, sending chills down her spine. The darkness closed in around them, strands of shadow blending into an impenetrable cloak. Where do we go? She gasped, struggling to keep pace with her assailant's urgency. Just follow my lead. He shouted back. His voice was firm, steady like a lighthouse in a storm. Each stride felt like a timer ticking down, as though the very woods were conspiring against them. Branches clawed at them as they plunged deeper into the forest. Sarah stole a glance over her shoulder. The creature lurked in the shadows, a dark shape melding into the night, its eyes glimmering with a predatory hunger. Why was he interested in me? She managed to ask, breathless, pushing through the underbrush. I don't know, he replied, scanning their surroundings. But it's clear he knows something. Something about you. His grip tightened on her hand, a silent promise that he wouldn't let her go. With a sudden rustling, a burst of motion from the underbrush sent them darting to the side. We have to find somewhere to hide, he said. They slipped into the hollow of a fallen tree, panting and pressed closely together. The darkness felt suffocating. Is it far behind us? Sarah breathed, the fear knotting her stomach. That he peeked outside, and his face paled. I can't see it, but that doesn't mean we're safe. His voice was tight, laced with worry. Whatever that thing is, it won't stop until it finds us. We need to keep moving. Moving where? She asked, her voice trembling. What do we do? He turned to her, desperation etching his features. If we're going to figure out who that man is and what he wants with you, we need to reach the old lighthouse at the edge of the forest. It's miles from here, but it's our safest bet. It once belonged to a researcher who studied things like this. Things like what? She questioned, the reality of their journey crashing over her like cold water. Things that don't belong in the light. Things that were better left undiscovered. Panic surged in her veins. And you think this lighthouse will help? What if we don't make it? Then we fight, he said, with fierce determination. I'm not letting you go, not now. He looked deep into her eyes, and she saw a flicker of something more than fear, a promise of protection, of partnership. Suddenly, the branches above them snapped, and a howl resonated, closer now, more urgent. The man's eyes widened. We need to move. Now. They bolted from their hiding spot. The night echoed with chaos, twigs breaking underfoot and the rustle of leaves chased by the breath of a relentless predator. Sarah forced her legs to carry her, heart racing with every pulse of adrenaline. But questions cascaded in her mind. What truth was buried in her past? What did the stranger mean by truth? Just keep going. He urged, glancing back, scanning for any signs of pursuit. The weight of his fear intensified her own. They were not just running from a creature, they were sprinting away from answers shrouded in darkness. The faint glow of the lighthouse flickered in the distance, a beacon promising hope or further intrigue. We're almost there. Her companion shouted, but just as they neared the crest of a hill, she stumbled, her foot catching on a root. Time slowed as she felt gravity pull at her. She was falling, and the ground rushed up to meet her. In an instant, strong arms caught her. She looked up into the frantic face of the man. I've got you. He breathed, but their moment of safety was fleeting. A shadow loomed behind him, and Sarah's scream echoed as the creature lunged from the darkness, its eyes shimmering like fire in the night. Would they escape the clutch of the unknown, or had they drawn closer to the heart of something sinister? The lighthouse stood mere steps ahead, but would it prove to be a sanctuary, or a trap? Sarah felt the ground beneath her pulse with tremors, each vibration matching the frantic beats of her heart. The man jerked her upright, his body a shield against the looming monstrosity. Run! He shouted, panic seeping into his voice, as he thrust her forward. With a burst of adrenaline, Sarah sprinted toward the lighthouse, its tall silhouette glaring against the starlit sky. She dared another glance behind, her stomach twisting. The creature was almost upon them, its presence overwhelming, like an ink blot spreading darkness into the faint light of the moon. Faster! He urged, matching her pace. She could hear its snarls now, low and guttural, vibrating in the night air, a sinister melody that promised no mercy. They reached the crumbling stairs of the lighthouse. The timber creaked under their weight as they raced up, legs burning. A ghostly wind whipped around them as they entered the small entrance, and the door slammed shut behind them with a finality that sent a chill straight through Sarah's bones. Breathless, they leaned against the door, hearts drumming like war drums in their chests. Do you think it followed us? Sarah whispered, her throat dry, voice trembling. I don't know, he said, eyes darting toward the darkened interior. But we're not safe yet. Silent shadows loomed around them as they stepped deeper into the lighthouse. The air was thick with dust and the scent of age, mingling with a hint of salt from the nearby sea. Shards of moonlight filtered through cracks in the walls, painting bars of light across the floor, illuminating the remnants of the lighthouse as past a rusted lantern, tattered maps scattered across a table, a diary lying open on the floor. What is this place? Sarah murmured, her eyes scanning the room for answers. It was a research station, for things. He trailed off, his gaze fixed on the diary. The pages were filled with frantic scrawls, notes about dark creatures, ancient texts discussing legend, stories of things that should never been awakened. Things. She repeated, stepping closer. As she read a passage, one phrase stood out, the key lies within the chosen. What does that mean? Sarah asked, a shiver coursing through her. It means, he inhaled sharply, it's got something to do with you. Before Sarah could respond, a loud thud echoed from the door, rattling the hinges. The creature was outside, clawing, snarling, desperate to find its prey. Each thud grew louder, causing the walls to vibrate, panic clawing at her insides. What do we do? She whispered, overwhelmed. He grabbed her shoulders, eyes fierce. We need to find the key mentioned in that diary. It could reveal the truth about you, and how to defeat that thing. But what if the truth is something we can't handle? She shot back, fear mixing with defiance. Then we face it together, he insisted. We're already in this. No turning back. The door shook once more violent this time, and splintered around the hinges. It wouldn't hold for long. Look. There. She pointed to an old cabinet nestled in the corner. There could be something inside. They scrambled toward it, fingers fumbling with the rusted latch. Just as he pushed it open, the door burst inward, splintering into pieces, and the creature lunged into the room, eyes glowing with malevolent hunger, the air thick and electric. Time seemed to pause. But before it could strike, the man turned to Sarah, determination etched on his face. Now or never. Grab what you can, and let us fight. Sarah scrambled for the diary, clutching it like a lifeline, but in that moment, she realized something cruel. They were not just fighting for survival, they were at the cusp of unveiling a destiny that could threaten everything they knew. What awaited them beyond this moment? What unspeakable truth lay hidden in the depths of this lighthouse? The creature's eyes glowed like twin lanterns in the dim light, a feral hunger radiating from its form. Sarah's heart raced as she felt its rancid breath wash over her. In a flash, the man lunged forward, pushing Sarah behind him as he gripped a broken piece of wood from the splintered door. Stay back! He shouted, brandishing the makeshift weapon. The creature paused, its snarl hanging in the air, the flickering shadows dancing malevolently across its matted fur. It seemed to assess them, twitching, waiting, the moment stretching. Sarah's palms were slick with sweat, anticipation pooling in her gut, a mix of fear and a strange thrill that made her blood roar in her ears. Find the key, Sarah! He yelled, his voice barely containing the tremor of desperation. It's our only shot. She didn't want to turn away from the confrontation, she was terrified of what might happen if she did. But a flicker in the corner of her eye, a glint of something bronze, caught her attention across the room. Her instinct screamed at her to move. Go for it. He urged, as if sensing her hesitation. Racing to the anomaly, she stumbled over dusty containers, her breath hitching. With every step, the creature snarled, its claws scraping against the floorboards, echoing like thunder in the confined space. Here! She shouted, reaching for the bronze object. It was an ancient key, intricate and heavy in her palm, the cool metal feeling almost alive against her skin. Behind her, the man was in a fierce dance, dodging the creature's swipes. Hurry, don't just stand there. With shaking hands, Sarah clutched the key tightly. It felt warm, vibrating with energy. But what could it unlock? She could feel the creature's presence looming closer, the scent of decay rippling through the air, forcing her to act. Get back! He shouted, hitting the creature with the piece of wood. The blow landed, but only angered it further. The man stumbled back, eyes wide with fear. The key. What do I do with it? She yelled, panic flooding her voice. Find a door. Any door. He cried, grappling with the creature as it lunged again. The diary mentioned something about a secret. She scanned the room, heart hammering. Her focus zeroed in on a door partially hidden by shadows. If it was an escape, it might also be a trap. But the man's momentary distraction was slipping. Without thinking twice, she dashed toward the door, her feet barely making sound on the wooden floor. Please, let this work. With a deep breath, she thrust the key into the old, rusted lock. It fit perfectly, the cold metal almost hummed in agreement as she turned it. The door creaked open, and a gust of wind rushed past her, carrying whispers of secrets long buried. Go! He yelled, wrestling the creature unsuccessfully. The door loomed wide, inviting yet terrifying. Shoving aside her fears, she threw herself inside, gripping the key as the door slammed shut behind her. The sound of the creature's fury echoed off the wooden panels, but inside this new space, the air felt different, charged, almost electric. What is this place? She gasped, taking in her surroundings. The walls lined with glimmering crystals reflected every flicker of light, casting patterns around her. Did you find it? The man called, voice muffled through the door. Sarah turned, taking a step forward. Yes. But it sounds like this place is alive. But even as she said it, the walls began to tremble. A low rumble vibrated through the structure. The crystals pulsed eerily, reflecting a complex web of colors that pulled at her senses. Get me in. He shouted, pounding on the door. No. Wait. She cried, eyes wide with realization. It was more than just a passage, it could be a trap set for the unwary. The rumbling intensified, shaking the very foundation. What deeper secrets lay within this new domain? As she stood at the threshold, fear and curiosity battling within her, an icy thought gripped her. Could uncovering her truth mean losing everything? Would she be able to reconcile what she found inside with the horror waiting outside? The tremors surged again, threatening to consume her. Come on, open the door. He yelled again, panic rising in his voice. Torn between loyalty and fear, Sarah hesitated. What awaited her inside might change everything or seal both their fates forever. And as the walls shook, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone. What greater threats lurked in the shadows? And would the truth be worth the price they would have to pay? The crystals vibrated with a sharp light, pulsating in an unsettling rhythm. Each flash sent jagged sparks through Sarah's vision, leaving her momentarily disoriented. She pressed a hand to the cool wall, ready to steady herself as the tremors continued to build in a vicious crescendo. The murmurs from outside faded into an indistinct blur, replaced by the urgent thrumming of her heartbeat. Open the door. The man's voice echoed through, desperate and strained. But her feet felt anchored to the floor, the room's energy enveloping her in a cocoon of uncertainty. She turned back towards the swirling colors and the intimate glow of the crystals. There was something mesmerizing about it, something that pulled at the fringes of her consciousness. As flashes of crimson intertwined with cobalt, the whispers grew clearer, almost as if they spoke directly to her. It wasn't just sound, but feelings, hope, longing, fear. They curled around her, mingling with the dread that clung to her from the outside world. Be careful. She shouted back, yet even she was unsure of her own resolve. It's alive. The ground beneath her felt responsive, as if it had a heartbeat of its own. She wondered whether stepping further would allow her to uncover these secrets or bind her deeper in their ominous embrace. Trust me, please. She heard him cry, more than a plea, it felt like a lifeline tossed into the tumultuous sea of her fears. Sarah's pulse raced as she wrestled with the decision. The rumbling intensified, and for a moment, it felt as if the very air had thickened. A flash of charcoal ink erupted within the chamber, coiling toward her and leaving a residual chill in its wake. Each flicker reminded her of the creature outside, still lurking, still hungry. Find the key, that voice whispered, a soft echo reverberating through the shimmering walls. Unlock the truth, the key. Sarah's fingers brushed against the cold bronze in her pocket, mind racing. What could it unlock aside from other doors? Hadn't she already unlocked a secret merely by being here? More importantly, was this discovery worth the risk? Don't let it take you. His frantic voice snapped her focus back to the door, where pounding fists echoed like thunder. She clenched her jaw, forcing herself to rise above the terror. With a deep breath, she took a bold step forward, curiosity outweighing her fear. As she approached the pulsating crystals, the patterns began to weave into shapes a landscape of memories, both familiar and foreign. Scenes from her childhood, her family gathered around the dinner table, laughter erupting like fireworks, happiness shining in their eyes. But the images distorted, washing over her like waves. There were darker moments too, her father's stern face, branches cracking under his heavy footsteps when he was angry, promises broken, trust shattered. No. She shouted, shaking her head, trying to will the memories away. Not again. Yet they swirled closer, inviting her to confront the ugliness. She gripped the key tighter, feeling the warmth pulse against her skin. Did understanding the past mean she could change it? Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed from behind her. The door splintered as the creature rammed into it again. The man's voice grew hoarse. "Sarah, please, just come back." But the aura of the room shifted, and something deep in her knew that escaping wasn't the answer. The energies at play here could either heal her or destroy her. "Time to choose," whispered the voice once more, coiling around her like smoke. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding against her ribcage like a caged bird, uncertain and desperate. Could she face the truth buried within, or would she test the boundaries of pain and perhaps reclaim more than she ever lost? A bright light blazed up from the floor, illuminating pathways strewn across the crystals. Each one glimmered with promise but veiled in mystery. What if she chose wrong? What if she stepped onto a path that led to her worst fears? With a trembling hand, she raised the key to the light, ready to plunge into the unknown. The walls shook violently, and a roar erupted from outside, a sound that ignited her fear anew. The choice was upon her. What awaited her on the other side? And would the truth truly set her free, or would it bind her forever? As the light engulfed her, Sarah felt a surge of energy radiate from the key, sending tingles throughout her body. She could almost see the paths morphing around her, forming new shapes, blending memories with possibilities. With every flicker of illumination, she could almost taste the weight of her choices. "Sarah." It was his voice again, washed in urgency, but it was fading. The creature outside slammed into the door with a ferocity that shook the floor beneath her feet. "Don't you dare give in." The key trembled in her hand, pulsing in sync with the vibrations. She could feel the countless questions swirling within her. What had she truly lost? Was it her family, her identity, or was it the very essence of herself battling these dark memories? What was the truth she sought to unlock? The walls around her shimmered, revealing flashes of her life, small snippets of joy and betrayal that danced in a chaotic ballet. Times when her heart felt light and others when it sank like a stone. The images all seemed connected, but how? With urgency creeping into every fiber of her being, Sarah aimed the key toward the brightest path. It glimmered with an intensity that beckoned her deeper into the unknown. "I have to do this," she whispered to herself, though a part of her felt like it was screaming otherwise. "Find the truth." The voice grew louder, overlapping the creature's roars. "Face your fears, Sarah." In that moment, time suspended. She could feel each pulse of the key like a drumbeat, echoing her hesitation. But the growls and knocks from the door snapped her back to the present and nudged her forward. The moment she pressed the key into the glowing passage, a shockwave rippled through her, sending her spiraling into a kaleidoscope of color and sound. Whispers filled her ears, swarming with voices of familiar strangers and echoing her thoughts. The world shifted, unraveling all around her. She found herself standing in a vast space filled with mirrors, each one reflecting a different version of herself. Some were smiling, others crying, but all shared a single expression: fear. They looked afraid of what lay beyond the glass. "What have I done?" she mumbled under her breath. The mirrors flickered, and she felt their eyes boring into her, judging. With shaky breaths, she stepped forward. "Who are you?" she shouted, desperate for answers. One of the figures stepped closer, her mirrored self flickering with uncertainty but also strength. "We are you. We are what you refuse to see." Refuse? The word hung heavy in the air, as if it had the weight of chains. "I can't face the darkness. I can't." But the reflection shattered all around her, jagged shards raining like starlight. "Face it." The reflections cried in unison. "Don't let it rule you." The shards cut into her skin, but beneath the pain, something stirred within her, an urge to uncover, to challenge what she thought she could not bear. Reclaiming power, she whispered, and the echoes of the mirrors seemed to embrace the strength in her voice. As she stood amidst the glittering wreckage, realization dawned upon her. To truly unlock the beauty of herself meant accepting every piece, the light and dark. But just as that understanding crystalline formed in her heart, a loud crash came from the door, a wave of dread pouring over her. The creature's growl morphed into a bone-chilling laugh, clawing at her sanity. "Let go of the fear," it echoed mockingly. "You cannot hide from me." A decision loomed before her, the darkness whispered, crawling closer, relentless. Sarah could retreat to her old self, away from the painful truth of her past. Or she could stand firm and embrace all she had become, all she had abandoned in fear. Yet even as she struggled with the choice, a crack appeared in the glass floor beneath her, fracturing her resolve and her sanity. With a deep breath, she raised her eyes to the dark corridor. "I want to hide." But at that moment, a shadow swept through the room. New energies crackled in the air, filling her with a sense of dread. What more awaited her in this maze? Could she truly confront the creature, or would it consume her once and for all? Sarah stood in the heart of the mirrored maze, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon her. Each reflection whispered stories of choices made and paths not taken. But she knew now, to embrace the truth, she had to confront her fears. "I am not afraid," she declared, pushing the words out despite the trembling in her voice. Suddenly, the growl of the creature crashed against her ears again, thrumming like a war drum. The darkness behind the door began to pulse, radiating a sickening mix of hunger and desperation. Her heart raced. The man was still out there, fighting to keep the beast out. But how? As the reflections shuddered, she remembered the ancient key in her grasp. This key was more than a way to unlock a door, it was a symbol of her strength, the strength to confront all that her past tried to bury. With determination, she stepped forward and into a reflection, a version of herself that radiated confidence, an embodiment of courage she needed to become. A crack echoed beneath her, and she understood that the mirrors could heal her, they could also destroy her if she let fear win. "Face it, Sarah," the echo of her own voice urged, the mirrored version smiling back at her. "You are stronger than this." Just then, the door burst open with force, splintering against the wall like a collapsing star. The creature lunged, eyes blazing with menace. But this time, Sarah was ready. With the key raised high, she shouted, "You will not control me." Light erupted from the key, a surge of warmth that pushed against the encroaching shadow. The creature skidded to a halt, confused for a split second, a glimmer of fear flashing across its face. The warmth of her newfound courage cocooned her like a protective shroud, illuminating the edges of darkness that had been gnawing at her. "Let me in." The man's voice broke through the chaos, filled with fear and hope. "Let me fight with you. Together." She called back, and in that instant, she chose to not carry her burdens alone. She pressed the key against the threshold of darkness. It fitted perfectly into the chaos of shadows, and with a decisive twist, the air hummed with energy. The darkness thrashed around her, but the light pushed it back. A blinding pulse radiated outward as she shouted, "You're not welcome here." The creature howled in pain as flickers of light shattered its form, causing it to dissolve into a wisp of smoke. As the shadows receded, the man dashed through the doorway, relief washing over his features. "Did you do it?" he asked breathlessly, taking her hands. "I think so," she gasped, the weight of fatigue finally settling in. "But we need to leave now." Together, they hurried out of the lighthouse, adrenaline coursing through their veins. As they stepped into the moonlight, the weight of the world felt lighter. Sarah glanced back, knowing they had unveiled a truth not just about the creature but about herself, the strength within her all along, waiting to emerge. "Where do we go from here?" the man asked, scanning the horizon. Sarah turned to him, her heart swelling with a newfound sense of purpose. "Anywhere we want. We can share our stories, our truths, and help others do the same. We're not alone anymore." And as they walked together into the glow of dawn, she let out a laugh that rang clear, free from the shadows of her past. She had chosen vulnerability and truth. Tomorrow would bring its challenges, but with shared hands and resilient spirits, They could conquer anything. As the sun rose, illuminating their path, a sense of calm settled within her. Life was filled with unknowns, and for the first time, she was ready to face them. So, here's the deal: you need to subscribe now, or you might miss out on the next incredible story we have in store. Smash that like button now to show your excitement and feed the algorithm. Every click counts. Flood the comments section below with your thoughts about this ending. Did they truly defeat the darkness? What do you think is next for Sarah and her companion? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends. They need to see this. Conclusion. Together, let us build this community of stories and revelations.